Hey, we're live, guys. We're live. I'm Jeff with eBay Addicts, and today my guest is Gravity Goods. Go ahead and introduce yourself, man. First of all, how are you doing, man?
I'm great. My name is Cameron. For those of you who might not know who I am, which is a lot of people, because I'm just kind of a little small fish in a big sea. But I live in Oregon, Jeff, and it rains here a lot. And today the sun is out, and so I was telling Wendy in the chat beforehand, like I'm excited to just go run some errands today. I got to go to my storage unit just so I could get out of my shed and like out in the world and feel the sunshine. So I'm doing great.
Okay, awesome. Well, go ahead and introduce yourself and tell people who you are and where you're from and what you do, because you also have a full-time job on top of being a reseller, correct?
Yes, sir. So yeah, like I said, I live in Oregon. My name is Cameron. I've been married for, gosh, my partner and I have been together a long time, almost 20 years. We have a 17-year-old daughter, and I do have a day job, but I have been since last summer, like June or July of last year, um, been an eBay addict, if you will. Very much enjoyed learning about reselling and just enjoyed doing it every single time I find a treasure. Looking forward to photograph it, get it listed, and see how much money I can make. It's been a lot of fun.
I know it's addicting, man. I'm telling you. Once you hear ka-ching and you're like, hey, I just paid $1 for this item and it sold for $20, 25, 30, $40. You're just like, wait a minute. Like you're like, I need to start doing this more often. So let
Yeah,
me get a second and catch up with people in the chat. We had Butterfly Hustles this here. Hey, Butterfly Hustles. We got Wendy is here hanging out. Says, hey, Jeff and friends. Cameron is here, of course. And I wanted to say hi to Regina Michelle is here. She says, hello, everyone. Hello, Jeff and Cameron. Thank you for coming, Regina. We appreciate you. I hope that you're having a good weekend. And we have I for Profit is here. Says, what's up, everybody? Says, hey, Regina, I just finished watching your betting unboxing. Awesome, awesome. So, so tell me, Cameron, now how long have you been a reseller now? How long, like, what, first of all, I want to know what got you started in being a reseller, because it's like, it's kind of one of them things, man. I'm telling you, I was actually got started watching YouTube videos. I was at one point in time, I was just a forklift driver working in a warehouse. And one day or another, I came across this YouTube video from, from GillDaddy, and I was watching him buy all these items that he got at the Goodwill bins. And he was having blender parts, vacuum cleaner parts, all different type of items. And he was just like, hey, boom, here's $1,100 worth of merchandise that we picked up at this Goodwill. And I was like, bro, I was like, do you know how long it takes me to make $1,000 working in this factory driving a forklift? I was like, I've got to figure this thing out. So the next day, I took my phone, I went to the Goodwill and started buying stuff. I've been doing it ever since, man. So tell me, what got you started
that's
into
awesome.
reselling? Like, what was the thing where it just kind of like light bulb went off in your head and you're like, hold on, there's something to this.
Yeah, and that's exactly what happened, Jeff, is because off and on throughout my life, I mean, I remember as a little kid,
Yeah.
we were poor, and this is in the 80s, and so it's when they now call them SNAP benefits, and they're on a debit card, but we used to have what were called food stamps. And it came in almost like a coupon book that you tear out, like this fake, almost like Monopoly money, but you could use it for food. And it might have been a little bit like not the best thing to do as a young child, but I didn't know any better. I wanted to go buy like toys. My brothers and I wanted to go get like Lego or GI Joes, or I don't know, just little trinkets at the Ben Franklin in town. You remember those
Yeah.
stores? Anyway, so we would go to the mini mart, and I would take the $1 food stamp and buy a 5 cent piece of bubble gum, because then I'd get 95 cents cash change back that I could use those food stamp money to buy my toys. So a little bit, I guess, not the most ethical thing to do, but I was like 6. So, and then throughout my life, I've flipped things here and there. Probably picked it up from my father, because growing up, he used to always look at the nickel ads, and he'd be buying somebody's a car part or boat part or some mechanical thing, and then
Yeah.
like, where are you going? He's like, I'll be back. I got to go get another engine. And we're like, how many engines does our dad need to have? But it was because he'd buy it for $50 and sell it for $150. So I probably just subconsciously observed that when I was much younger. But last
Right.
summer, I saw for the first time, and I just had this epiphany, like a few weeks ago when I was watching Louis, the Lone Star uh, picker, and Luis, the calorie seller. They were talking to Slobby Robbie from Slobby's World, that show on Netflix that many people have probably seen. And I had this like moment where I was like, oh, that's what got me on this last summer. Is I watched Slobby Robbie, saw them flipping, Gucci shirts and vintage tees and stuff like that, polo, bright colors. And I thought, why can't I do that? Why can't anybody do that? So, like you, I went with my phone and uploaded my eBay app and just started buying stuff. Made a lot of mistakes at the beginning, that's for sure.
Right. Well, it sounds like you're having fun, and it sounds like you enjoy what you do. I saw your video a couple weeks ago. You're doing your catwalk thing on Instagram. If people don't follow you guys, don't follow Gravity Goods on Instagram, you have no idea what I'm talking about. But he sold this purse, and he thought he would show everybody his what sold by doing a dance, and he had a theme music and everything. And so tell us about your new intro music.
Well, I mean, in terms of that, it was just it was kind of one of those things where I love when this happens. You buy something and you look it up and you're like, whoa, I could get way more than I thought I was going to get, like for that purse, for example. And I thought, well, I could just put a photo of it like I often do and say, hey, bought this for, I don't even remember what I bought it for, $5, let's say, and sold it for, again, I don't even remember what I sold it for, but 50. So we'll just throw numbers out there arbitrarily. Right. And I thought, well, what would be a creative way to like show that I sold this purse? And I'm like, I'm just such a big kid. Why don't I play Right Said Fred, I'm too sexy, whatever. Please don't make me sing. Anyway, I just thought I'll shoot a video and do that because
my god,
why not have fun,
Yeah. Awesome. I just wanted to catch a few people in the chat. We got Butterfly Hustles is here. I wanted to say hi to Miss Taffy for coming in and hanging out with us today. And Regina is here, and Wendy is here, and I for Profit. So if you guys have questions for our guests, go ahead and drop it in the chat. I have this new thing I started a couple weeks ago where I have a StreamYard link in the chat. So if you guys want to jump on and hang out with us, you can jump on the StreamYard link, ask the guest questions, jump on and hang out with us if you want to on this weekend. And hopefully where you guys are at, you're staying nice and warm there. So tell me, man, since you started this whole reselling thing, has your wife been supportive of your reselling adventures, or is she just like, what the heck are you doing? Or put all this stuff outside in the garage in the shed and just like leave me alone? Like what? Tell me how that experience has been.
All of the above. Is that fair? When I first started to acquire things, I just had a few, tubs, like these plastic totes in a spare bedroom in our house. We called it the cat room because it's just where we feed the cats. Anyway, so the cat room turned into the eBay room, which then turned into not 2 totes, not 20 totes, but I don't know how many totes I have. Right. And then it became, well, you got too much stuff. You can barely walk in the cat room anymore, your eBay room. What are we gonna do? Are you gonna go get a storage unit? Do we need to move? Or do we want to build a shed? We kind of discussed the options. And for me, this back in November, I had a shed built out in our backyard because what my wife and I came to the conclusion of is that if I had all my inventory at a storage unit, I'd get burnt out every day having to drive over there to get inventory. And it's not impossible. And if that's the only way it works for people, then that's fine. But for me, I was like, it would be nice to just trample through my backyard and be able to have my inventory here. So made a lot of compromises throughout the journey. And I've moved from all my stuff being in the spare bedroom to the spare bedroom and the garage, now to the shed. And I do have a storage unit, but that's mostly for boxes, extra bubble wrap, big items that I want to store here in the shed. So I do end up having to go sometimes to the storage unit after all, but not every day. So
for sure. I have a big shed in my backyard as well. And as far as storing your merchandise, it's totally worth it if you guys can get one. I just so happen to have one when I moved into this place. When I moved into it, they already had one in the backyard. So as soon as I saw this big, like 5 bay garage in the backyard and I saw this shed, and I was just like, I was like, I'm ready. I'll, check please. I'll sign. I'm ready to sign the paperwork. So, yeah, it's definitely invaluable if you have that to be able to just anytime if you sell something, you can just go walk to your backyard, go pull your orders and stuff. And instead of having to drive to a storage unit or something like that, it definitely adds up. I for Profit says, I wish I could have a shed. Yeah, man. If you can have a shed somewhere, like in your backyard, if you have room or space for it, it's definitely worth it. And also think about how much money you're saving from not having to pay the storage fees every month as at a storage unit. We had a question in the chat from Wendy. She says, what is your favorite thing to source?
For me, my favorite thing to source is the unknown. I don't know if that's a fair answer, but what I mean by that is I know I could go to the Dollar Tree and get a bunch of Blu-rays, and I know I'd pay $1. I know what I would charge. I know after fees and profit, I'd be making like $3. But it's super easy to list, easy to store. You already know this, Jeff. I'm preaching to the choir here, but that's not as fun for me, Wendy. So I like to go. My wife and I go to the Goodwill outlet bins. There's one locally. I live near the capital in Oregon, which is Salem, Oregon, and there's a Goodwill outlet bins here, and then there's several in the Portland, Oregon area. And so we do venture outside of Salem because those bins up there are better. People have more money up there, and we found like brand new with tags, Patagonia, zip up, clothing. I found a Nikon Monarch something or another binoculars that were like worth $200. Just found some really nice things that I wasn't going there to find, if that makes sense. So I like the hunt. I like the treasure. I like finding things that are unique, obviously valuable, and that are fun to photograph. I love photography, and I like that aspect of the listing. I don't love the listing part, but I don't mind taking the pictures if they're things that are appealing to me in my big kid personality that I like to take pictures of. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah, for sure. Do you still have that Kirby guy that you had your listing live the other day, or did you ship him out already? You still have it? Oh, tell everybody how much you paid for him and how much you ended up selling for.
I think my wife got him, and if she got it at the bins, I'd say all the time, buck from the bins, because on average, they charge you by the pound. So it could be that when I take the amount of things I buy, divide it up, it could be 75 cents per item. Then the next time it could be $1.10 per item. So I just always, on average, it's about $1 from the bins. And so it sold for, what did it sell for? $40, $39.99.
I think it sold for $40 plus shipping.
Yes, sir. Yeah, $39.99, $40.
Right. So that's what I'm saying. So I'm just using that as an example of unique items that you just happen to come across at the bins. Like, hey, I found this Kirby stuffed animal. What's it worth? I'm sure at the time you probably didn't even think, hey, let's sit here and comp it. You're just like, oh, throw it in the cart and we'll figure it out later. But you knew that it had to be worth more than what they were selling it for at the Goodwill bins. So I wanted to ask you a few questions at the Goodwill bins. If somebody's never been, tell them a little bit how it's structured, how the Goodwill bins are structured. Because basically, I haven't been in a long while, but when you go in there, they basically like weigh your shopping cart when you go in, and then they weigh you when you go out, and then they charge you so much money per pound for the items that you get in your cart. Is that pretty accurate where you live?
Well, that's what I was going to say, is I think it's different everywhere, because I follow some folks that I think live in Arizona, and they've been doing all kinds of things where they have to wear a lanyard and then they randomly call your nut, and they don't do any of that here. Right. Because of COVID-19, there are some rules, like one person per bin. The employees call them tables. Everybody in the world calls them bins. But yeah, they're like these blue waist height tables or bins, tubs full of people's garbage, aka donations. And where we go, Jeff, they don't weigh the cart beforehand. I think they just must know, like, all the carts weigh whatever they weigh. And electronics are cheaper per pound. I think it's like 69 cents per pound for electronics. So anything, and that can include, like, I got a talking Christmas tree that doesn't have a plug-in, but it does have a battery compartment, so they consider that electronic. And then clothing is, what is it? $2 something per pound if you get 25 pounds or lower. So we always shoot to fill up our cart with clothes and shoes and books and all the things that fall under that category of trying to get it over the 25-pound mark, because then it's only $1.29 a pound, something like that. So yeah, I could go, and if I have 24 pounds worth of stuff, it'd be like $60, and then throw, like I did this the other day. I just put a basketball because I was so close to the 25 mark, and then it was like half the price. And then I went and put the basketball back. It's really silly, kind of, that they have this really strict, but I guess they have to cut it off somewhere.
Right. So what I'm saying is that you can get items for, pennies on the dollar at the Goodwill bins, and they're the regular items that maybe items wouldn't sell at the regular Goodwill, and after it sits on the shelf for a period of time, they take it to the Goodwill outlets or the Goodwill bins to sell the merchandise, and they sell it by the pound. So it sounds like you found some pretty good items in there. I'm sure there's probably stuff in there that's junk, but I'm sure you find a lot of items that you can flip and resell and make a profit on, right?
Yeah, I kind of hit a Lego gold mine yesterday. Actually, I don't know if it's a gold mine because I haven't comped Legos. The only Legos I've ever sold are when I've got lucky enough to get them like at a yard sale, and they're like new in the package, and those can be really valuable. But what was I gonna say? Dang it. My ADHD brain made me have a brain fart. It was something about the different things that you could find there. Oh,
yeah. Well, go ahead.
A lot of people, and I thought this at the beginning too, a lot of people assume that it's only Goodwill donating to the Goodwill outlet, aka the bins. And so it's kind of like the leftover junk people didn't want to buy at the regular Goodwill. But that's not true. And if you drive into one of those Goodwill outlets, the bins, you'll see people their car lined up, and they're also donating it directly to the bins, just like they would if they went to a regular Goodwill. So you still have the same opportunity to get really nice stuff that hasn't gone through the normal Goodwill cycle, if I'm explaining that well.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I got a question because I haven't been in a long while. What other stuff do they have there besides clothing and shoes and stuff like that there? I mean, do they have hats? Do you come across video games? Like, what other type of stuff have you come across? So you found a stuffed animal there? I'm just curious because I haven't been in a long while.
Yeah, I've found, anything that somebody would donate. And so that could be like new with tags. I sold my first woman's bra like a month ago. Victoria's Secret, I think, was the brand.
Yeah.
Books, VHS. I found a group. It was almost like somebody had a horror like scary movie collection, and donated them, because in one bin I had like Friday the 13th, Amityville Horror, I don't know, a bunch of those types of VHS cassettes that, if people don't know this, can not like a huge profit margin, but if you buy it for, like you said, pennies on the dollar, and you sell it for even $10 to $20, it's a nice return on your investment. So basically it's just like one man's trash that's another man's treasure, so they
awesome.
don't want it.
Jennifer Hayes is in the chat. She wants to know if they have jewelry there. Have you come across any jewelry there?
Probably only if it was like in a jewelry box, Jennifer. Like if somebody donated a jewelry box, and then you see this box and you open a drawer and you're like, oh wow, there's jewelry in here. But I've never seen anything that appeared like valuable. It's probably more the costume type jewelry. I think that's what it's called. Like the plasticky, not very, like that you'd get at what is that teeny bop store in the malls? Claire's, like those, that kind of cheap jewelry. I've never seen like nice jewelry. Good question. Here I am, okay. Like, oh, they have everything, and I guess they don't, because I've never seen nice jewelry.
All right, I just wanted to give a shout out to Jennifer Hayes is in the chat. We got Butterfly Hustles is here. We got I for Profit, and Wendy is here in the chat. So we had a question in the chat. I for Profit says, note to self, if I ever get a shed, make it as big as possible. Yeah, for sure. That definitely would help. He had a question. He says, have you guys tried an abandoned storage unit yet? Have you tried that or no?
No, not yet. I don't know if I will, but and the reason I say that is because I've seen those shows on TV, and the idea of like having to clear one out, if it was a decent sized one, seems like a lot of work. Not to sound like I'm lazy or whatever, But at a
Yeah.
Goodwill, for example, I spent $100 one time on a media pallet, really large pallet, just full of CDs, movies, video games, and it took. That was a late night, and I had my daughter and my wife helping me sort it. I mean, I like quadrupled my money on that, so it was, and I was able to get it sold quickly, but it was just a lot of work, and it made me think, like, would I want to do this? Because this is what you'd be doing if you clear out one of those storage units, and it's just like bags and boxes of stuff upon stuff. Um, it can be very valuable to some folks who do it. Have you ever done that, Jeff? Bought a storage
No,
unit?
I haven't. We had Philly Flipper. He was on last week, and he buys storage units a lot. He would buy a storage unit for $10, $40, and then he would turn $10 into $1,000 worth of merchandise. But my thing is, I drive a little Toyota Camry, so there's no way I would be able to fit all the big furniture they have in there, like box springs, mattresses, dressers, nightstands, all the big heavy stuff. I just would have no way of hauling it, and I'm not going to rent a truck or a trailer or U-Haul to clean out a storage unit. I kind of stick to is smaller items like this, for example. That's small, new industry crap. I could pick up something like this for, let's say, 50 cents, and then boom, turn around and sell it for 10, 15, 20 bucks. So I kind of stick to my niche of what I'm good at and what I know. And right now I'm trying to grow my store to 10,000 items. So it's kind of, I have to kind of stick to smaller items. I can't have big, bulky, heavy items and have 10,000 of them. It's not going to work. So, but no, I haven't done it, like I said, mainly because I don't have a truck and a trailer, and I don't have a way to haul it. And, plus my landlord would not be too happy where I live at if I came home with like, oh yeah, I've got 10 box springs and mattress, and I got a dresser and a nightstand and all this stuff. I mean, they would not be happy with that. I'd have stuff in the yard. It would just be a big mess. But I mean, if other people can do it, that's big props to you, man. If you want to go out and do it, because there are deals out there to be had. Like I said, we had Philly Flipper on. He said he was buying storage lockers for $40, $10, and he was turning $10 into $1,000. So I mean, there is definitely deals out there if you're willing to hunt and look for it. I wanted to say hi to Twin Flippers is here in the chat hanging out with us. Thank you for coming out and hanging out with us today. We appreciate you, and I hope you guys are having a good weekend. So, Cameron, I want to talk a little bit about your YouTube channel, man. Tell us about your YouTube channel, because when we first met, when I talked to you online, it seems like I don't recall you having a YouTube channel. When did you start your YouTube channel, and what is your YouTube channel all about? Like, what like possessed you to start a YouTube channel? And tell us like how you got the idea, what you talk about on your channel. Take us behind the curtains. Tell us a backstory about it.
Sure. So, not unlike other folks who, when they decide that they're going to resell, like I told you, it was Slobby Robbie's Netflix that made me think I could do this. But what I forgot to say earlier is I then went to YouTube and probably typed in like selling things on eBay, and then it served me up somebody. I don't know if it was Ryan and Rally Roots, the Rockstar Flipper, Kevin Commonwealth. I don't know who it was, but you know how it works. It's like a ripple effect. And when eBay shows you one person and you start watching their videos, and it's going to suggest more and more and more. And so my eyes were just open to this like world of resellers / YouTubers. And,
Right.
And I thought, wow, I'm like learning a lot from these people. And I'm just some like average dude over here in Oregon, and I don't know a whole lot about a lot of the things I'm buying. Maybe they can learn from my mistakes, and I can share my adventures, my successes, and my good like bolos. And a lot of people are like, don't share your bolos. And for me, it's like, to a certain extent, there might be some things that maybe you shouldn't share. But on the other hand, there is so much stuff in the world to get that I definitely am more of the mindset of like, it's fine to help one another. Because if I find something in a estate sale in, Albany, Oregon, somebody in Albany, New York, they're probably not going to find the exact same thing. It's going to be rare and unique. But anyway, all that to say, I learned a lot from people on YouTube about reselling, and not that I think I'm a guru or an expert or anything by any means, but if nothing else, like just having fun and showing folks how I'm slowly making some money. And I just thought, why not share it and make videos about it?
Yeah, awesome. I just wanted to, who are some of your favorite YouTubers that you like to watch in your downtime, or that you listen to maybe while you're in the back listing items or something?
I can't even remember their names, so that's horrible. But I love podcasts. I'm kind of a podcast junkie. So like if I'm in the bins, I have my noise canceling headphones on, and I'll be listening to like the Pure Hustle podcast. Um, I feel horrible that I can't remember those two guys' names. I can hear the voices in my head, but can't picture what their names are. And I think they do their podcast or audio podcast also via YouTube. I just don't ever, for whatever reason, I don't tune in to the video component. It's more when I'm driving or sourcing that I listen to them. I try to watch Lonnie and Candace shed flips every day, and Pip Dog. They inspire me. I need to find a guy like their guy. I need that guy in my life. I enjoy watching Kevin, the Commonwealth Picker. I think he's a wealth of knowledge. Taught me a lot. John, the Cincinnati Picker. I'd highly recommend him. I also just have a huge soft spot in my heart for him and his family because they're foster parents. And I think that's awesome and amazing. Matt, part-time picker. I've learned a ton from Kat, the nurse flipper, Emily Conway, Kayla, you, Jeff. I learned from you to go to the Dollar Tree and buy a bunch of Blu-rays. And even if my profit margin isn't huge, over time it adds up. So yeah, there's a ton of, I don't mean to leave anyone out because there's a lot of people I try to watch.
Yeah, if I recall, you were on Nurse Flipper's channel not too long ago, weren't you?
Yeah, I think it was last month, but yeah, I was on there.
A couple of weeks ago
Carol, with Butterfly.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, Butterfly Hustles. Yeah.
Hustles. Sorry, Carol. Hustles. Yeah.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, I was of the same mindset. I think I was talking last week in my listing live. I was just like, hey, we don't, there's no secrets out here. It's like, if you're willing to put the work in, there's no lack of merchandise out here to get. Like, there's infinity of merchandise. Like, if you're just willing to get up off your butt and hustle, there's merchandise everywhere. It's like, what does it say? The game is free, batteries not included. We can give you all the information in the world, but if you're not willing to, put the boots on the ground and hustle and do the work, there's only so much that people in the community can help you. But it's definitely awesome that, there are people in the community that's willing to help you. Most people, like McDonald's and Burger King, they wouldn't like help each other out. They're competitors. But other resellers, they don't look at each other as competitors. They're just like, hey, man, there's enough for everybody can eat around here. It's like, there's no reason to just kind of like, oh no, I don't want anyone to find out about what I sell or what I do. And it's just like, bro, like, as long as you put the work in, the profits are going to be there. Like, I'm like thinking there's like what, 7-8 billion people in the world. Like, there's no lack of merchandise. Like, what is it that we're, trying to, don't tell anybody about your bolo, So let me go catch a few. Yeah, let me catch a few people in the chat. We got Baldy Pal Pickin is here. Little Debbie is here. He says, Twin Flipper says a flack over the Mr. Potato Head. Yeah, I saw your Mr. Potato Head. It was on Instagram. I saw that. Red Dirt Picker is here in the chat. We got Regina is here. Flippin' Sports Guy is here. He says, hey everyone, hey Cameron. Twin Flippers was here. And Little Debbie is here. Says, share them bolos. Hey Jeff and Cameron. Hey, thank you for coming on and hanging out with us today on this Sunday afternoon. And I for Profit says, anything that resellers do on social media that you guys don't like? Not really. I mean, I'm pretty much cool with most everybody in the reseller community. There are some things that maybe that doesn't get under some people's skin, like when they post stuff on Instagram and say, hey, look at all these items that I sold. And then they'll say, hey, I've sold, $500 worth of merchandise this weekend. But then they don't say like how much money they have tied up in the merchandise. You don't know how much long the merchandise set in their store. Like, there's a lot of unknowns that you don't know. And maybe some other newer resellers are like, wait a minute, I'm doing something wrong. I didn't make $500-600 in sales this weekend, So I think everybody kind of compares themselves to each other sometimes. And I think everyone should just kind of, work at their own pace. It's okay. Like, I was watching Osborne Thrift on Instagram, and he made like $4,000 this past week selling stuff on eBay. And I wouldn't sit here like, oh, I didn't make no $4,000 this week on eBay. I was just like, gave him a thumbs up, like, congratulations, bro. Yeah. I'm happy for you. So, yeah. I mean, most of the people in the reselling community, we're pretty much, get along with each other, and people are willing to help each other out. Like, if I send somebody a message on Instagram, even if they don't like me or for whatever reason, usually 9 times out of 10, they'll email me back. They'll say, hey, how's it going? How was your day? What can I help you with? So that's probably the thing that I love the most about the community is I can reach out to anybody in the country. I can reach out to Buffalo Picker right now and say, hey, Buffalo Picker, I'm having a problem with Amazon. Can you help me out with XYZ? And within 24 hours, he would message me back and say, hey, Jeff, this is what you need to do to get over this hurdle with Amazon. So overall, I think it's awesome. So I don't really have any any negative thing about anybody on Instagram. He says, Jeff looks like Tom Sizemore. I appreciate that. Linda is here, says, hey guys. And I think there was a question in the chat I thought I missed. I don't do it on purpose. I think I missed somebody in the chat. Anyways, Jennifer Hayes dropped your link in the chat. And I think that's it. Let me know if I missed a question in the chat. I don't think I did. So tell me what's going on, man. Tell me what some of your first of all, I want to know how is your life balancing being a YouTuber, being a reseller, working a full-time job, and being a parent and a husband. How is that balancing act working for you as far as being a reseller, working a full-time job, and then, you know, taking care of your family? Tell me about how that's working out, because not everybody has mastered that art of the time management and all that. Go ahead, tell me how that's been going for you.
I think that anybody who's like, oh, I've got it all figured out, I do this, then that, I think, are you human? I don't believe in that concept that there's a balance per se. I think 1 week you could feel like you're having a great balance because your relationships are doing well, your business is doing well, but then the next week one might flip and flop. So how I manage it is, my wife loves to go sourcing with me. So it's almost like a date when we like go thrifting. And so it's not like I'm spending a significant time away from her when I go get things to sell online on eBay. I wish our 17-year-old was more motivated by money, because I've offered to pay her, and she's done it once where she's taken a bunch of photos of flat lays for clothing. But she's not really into the whole, like, you know, that I go buy stuff and sell it. And yeah, mostly it's kind of a joke, but it's kind of true. Like I'm in the house to sleep and eat and like maybe do laundry, but most of the time, unless I'm like walking my dog or at my day job, I'm like out here in the shed. I'm like pulling orders or shooting a video or listing things or interacting with people's live chats, because I just think it's important to support one another, like you were saying earlier. So yeah, I mean, just trying to keep my head above water. Haven't got a divorce yet.
No, I'm not gonna jinx that one, bro. So I mean, well, it's awesome though that your wife's supportive and she likes going with you to the Goodwill bins and likes going sourcing with you. But yeah, I definitely can relate. I have a I for profit says a 17-year-old with emojis. Yeah, I have a thing where it's like I give so much information out to people, whatever I can, to help people out for free. And I have a little brother that's like 10 years younger than me. And I tell him all these different ideas I have of ways that he can make money. And it like goes in one ear and out the other. He's just like, I'm going back to my video game. See you later. And it's like, it's like, think about how many video games you could buy. Just listen to what Jeff's telling you. I tell him all the time, like, just try it out for 30 or 60 or 90 days. And if you don't like it, if you hate hearing ka-ching and you hate making money, do something else, but try it out. And it's just, he just doesn't want to do it. I don't know if he's just not motivated, but it's not something he's into. But you know what they say, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink. So I don't have any kids, but I definitely can relate on having like my little brother, and I tell him all about it. And I'm excited. I'm like, hey, I just sold this item for $20 and I paid $1 for it. And he was just like, yeah. And like, it doesn't do anything for him, you know? So I definitely can relate. Polly Picking says that was said with sarcasm. Twin Flipper says, what your niche, if you have one? He wants to know if you have a certain niche that you sell in.
The niche that gets me doubled to 10 times to however many times my money. I would sell just about anything that's legal to sell on eBay, if it'll get me a return on my investment. So, but yeah, my brother's kind of that same way, Jeff. He's my little brother. He's 2 years younger than me. I say little because he's a lot taller than me. That's not hard though. I'm kind of a little dude, but I was visiting him yesterday, and he I was telling him, oh, we bought this, we bought that. And my wife and I are both like kind of excited as we tell him the things that we flipped. Both he and his wife are like, that's so cool that y'all do that. But you could kind of sense that tone that like, but I would never dig through people's garbage and want to deal with like packaging it up. And he was like, we've got a couple bags of stuff we were going to take to Goodwill. Do you want it? And I was like, yes, because if it's half decent, whether it's clothing or home goods, whatever, don't just give it to the Goodwill. I am now your Goodwill, brother. So yeah, he's going to hook me up with some donations. So that'll be nice. But he's like, I know I could do that. I know I could try and like do a side hustle of eBay, but it just seems like a lot of work that I don't want to mess with. And that's fair. You know, some people, they just don't want to try, I guess.
Yeah. And like I said, everybody kind of has their own thing. And it's kind of like, like I said, you can lead them to water, but you can't make them drink. You can't like force their head in the water. Say, do this, do that. You just gotta let them do their thing, which is fine with me. But I'm just saying, don't be calling me up asking me for money when I just told you 10 ways you can make money, and then 2 weeks later say I need money. I'm like, here you go. Watch my YouTube channel. I put out information all the time to teach you how to make money. And I'm like, how many days a week are you working? Because I'm working 7. So if you work 7 days a week, I'll help you out. If you're only working 4 or 5 days a week and you're taking 2 days off to just lay around and play video games, can't help you. So
Paul said,
raise your hand if you're short. We got Hot Flip Heidi is here, says greetings. Butterfly Hustle says, my daughter has one listing, and I'm like, getting some more help.
Get some more up. Yeah, she's like, get some more up. Get some more listed. Yeah.
For sure. Baldy Pal Pickens says, my kids get free money from their grandparents. Why work? And Wendy is in the chat. She says, hey, Jeff and Cameron, what is the biggest lesson you have learned from reselling?
You want to go first, or you want me to go?
You go ahead.
Okay. The biggest lesson that I learned that I would want to advise new resellers, because if you've been reselling for a while, I'm going to tell you this and you're going to be like, no doy. Remember that phrase in the 90s? No doy. Anyway, is to comp things. And so if you're at a Goodwill or a thrift store or wherever, and you see something and you think, whoa, I bet you I could, this is $1. I bet you I could sell it for $20. Don't just go with your gut. Like, look, and don't just look at what other people list it for, but specifically look at those sold comps so that you could see when the last one was sold, how often they're selling. This is on eBay, the eBay app. Because I bought a lot of crap at the Goodwill just thinking, ooh, it's new in the box. It's definitely going to sell. And those things I'm probably just going to end up donating because I've had them for like over 6 months and not even like a single interest in them. So look at the sold comps before you just go like buy a bunch of stuff is my advice and my lesson that I learned, because I probably spent a lot of money on things that I saw dollar signs without like looking at the evidence, if I'm explaining that properly.
Yeah, I would say, the biggest lesson that I learned lately, when I first started in reselling, I would get excited if I would make 3 times or 4 times the money. Like, for example, let's say I found a video game for $5 and it was selling for 15. I would just grab it. And I would be, you're young and you're super excited. You're like, yes, I've got this item for $5 and I'm going to sell it for $15. And, the biggest thing that I really learned lately is just reinvesting your money back in your business. That's probably the number one thing I would tell anybody. I was watching, if you guys saw the $1 Million Peddlers I had on last week, this guy, he makes over $1 million a year being a reseller. And that's, if you do the math, he's doing over $20,000 a week reselling. And I was watching another YouTuber last week. He was on Daily Refinement's channel, and this guy resells video games on Amazon. That's all he sells. And they were interviewing him, and he said that he did $1 million last year in 2020 just reselling video games. And he got started out on eBay reselling items just like me and you did. And what he did is he just kept taking his money and reinvested it back into his business. Now, out of that $1 million that he sold in video games on Amazon, that wasn't all profit. I think he said maybe 28% of it was profit, but still, that's almost $300,000 a year that he netted at profit after all his bills are paid by just reinvesting his money back into his business. He didn't just say, oh, I made $500 or $1,000 this month. I'm good. He just kept reinvesting his money back into his business, and over time it grew, and now he's making 7 figures on Amazon. Or now this guy started from zero. He actually got kicked off eBay, and now he has 10, 12 employees and makes over $1 million a year just selling stuff on eBay. So that to me is the biggest thing that kind of opened my eyes. I was like, man, this eBay reselling game, you can make it as big or as small as you want it. If you just wanted to do it part-time and have a full-time job, or if you're a stay-at-home mom or a college student and you just want to do it part-time to make some extra money, you can do that. But if you really want to scale and grow your business, if you put the work and the hustle in, it's not going to happen overnight. But if you put the work in over 5, 10, 15 years, your business can grow to where that can be your full-time income, and you could just be able to pay all your bills just from reselling. So that's probably, I'd say, the biggest lesson or biggest thing that kind of caught my eye recently. Twin Flipper says they were rebranding the Mr. and Mrs. Potato Head. The old boxes will be discontinued, selling at Walmart for $5 and sell on eBay between $50 and $65. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. I for Profit says Osborne is a money magnet for sure. I had him on the channel a couple weeks ago. He's a really nice guy. Regina says yes, there's great people in the community for sure. That's always awesome. I'm gonna try to get. Go ahead.
I was just saying she's one of them. Yeah, somebody was talking about if we saw Josh Harry Tornado that he bought all those controllers. He made a video recently where he didn't check the comps beforehand. And understandably, he went off of his own experience and his own. He bought a controller, and so he thought, "Oh, well, I know how much they cost because this is what I bought one for." But the difference is the change in the market. I forget how long in the past historically it was that he bought that controller, but anyway, he's sucking it up. I did appreciate that part of his video at the end where he's like, "And you know what? I could have just taken it back and said, give me my money," because there wasn't going to be that much of a return on investment. But it was kind of like to teach himself a lesson. He's like, nope, I'm going to photograph it. I'm going to list it. And yeah, I'm not going to make that much money, but that reminds me of the lesson. And I thought there was a lot of like value in that for sure.
Well, the thing is, man, after you, like, if you're in a certain niche or a certain market and you resell the same items over and over again, you'll kind of recall in your mind and be like, oh, wait a minute. Like, for example, I'll be at the Dollar Tree and I'll see this particular DVD and they sold at the Dollar Tree for $1. And I'll be like, oh, I just sold one of those on eBay last week for $20. So it's like, I don't need to sit here and look up comps because I already know what it sells for. Or if I'm at a pawn shop and I walk by a stack of video games and they're selling to the pawn shop for $1, I can sit here without having to sit here and scan the barcodes and look them up. I'd be like, okay, that's 15, that's 20, that's 25, that's 30. And I can do the math in my head. I don't need to pull out a calculator, and I'll just stack them up on the counter because you're getting them for $1 a piece. So, but the thing is, reselling is a learning experience. You're constantly learning. And even if you master one niche, and let's say you're really good at selling video games, you may know nothing about clothing or shoes. Or maybe you're really good at selling shoes, but then you know nothing about you don't know nothing about selling hats. So there's always something that you can be learning and get knowledge in new categories and new areas. Butterfly Hustles is here. Says, Harry, I haven't been feeling well lately. I hope you feel better, Butterfly. And Harry Humstone is here in the chat. I saw Harry recently. I think he was on Nurse Flipper's channel recently. I believe I saw him the other day.
Sorry about that. He sells a lot of these. This isn't a super valuable one, but these insulators, if y'all ever come across these, and you want to watch some good content on knowing how to identify the ones that are more valuable, go subscribe to Harry Humstone. Plus, he has really fun top 10s that he does on his YouTube live videos. Great guy. He's fun.
Yeah, and we have Vintage Mentality says, my twin girls love drifting with me, but I can't get them to list with me. So they'll learn. Once you start figuring out that you can make money doing it, they'll start doing it. So Cameron, before we let you go, man, you got to give us the download. You got to give us the 411. Give me your top 2 or 3 tips that would help somebody out to make money on eBay. What would be your top 2 or 3 tips that you would sit here and think, hey, do this and you'll make some money? Like, what advice would you give them?
Just piggyback. Well, just reiterating the check comps, because if you're like me and you just see dollar signs and you see that it's a new in the box and that there's people listed them, doesn't mean that you're going to get that. So check those sold comps. I guess one of my pieces of advice in reselling, but just in life in general, is something that you spoke to earlier, Jeff. And that is like, for some folks, reselling and making 20 extra dollars, 50 extra dollars a week is like a lot of money to them. And so you can scale it as big or as little as you want, depending on your lifestyle and your time, and whether or not you want to stress yourself out over it. And so one of the pieces of advice I made a video earlier this year that was like the top 10 things I learned. And one of them is to like trying your best, because it's human nature to compare yourself to others. If you say you never do, I don't believe you, but to try and just mostly compare yourself to yourself. And so, so somehow keeping track of your metrics in terms of knowing what you're listing, whether it's a certain dollar amount a day or a week or a certain number of listings, just to be competitive with yourself. And like you said, you see stuff all the time on Instagram, like, whoa, look at all that stuff that person sold. I must not be good enough, or I must not be trying hard enough. And it could just be that, well, you're just doing it on the side, and that's their livelihood. And they're doing it like, maybe it's a couple and they have 4 employees. And so that's how they're able to produce those pictures where things look phenomenal. So just doing the best that you can do with the time that you have. And if it's stressing you out too much, like, just reevaluate. Do I really need to be doing this? Because I don't want to discourage anyone from reselling, but not everything is for everybody. So it could definitely be easy going down that cycle of feeling like you're comparing yourself to others. I can't really think of anything else off the top of my head, Jeff. I'm sure there's tons of advice people give other people, but
yeah, well, I would just say just try to reinvest your money. I try to buy big bulk lots of merchandise here lately. Like if I go to the thrift store or a yard sale or a pawn shop, if I can't find anything, I just go online and order it. I mean, I just ordered more merchandise lately, and if you can buy a big lot of 400 or 500 or 1,000 items, and it's like new in the shrink wrap, and you can have it shipped to your door, like you have to start thinking differently. Like, okay, let's say for example, I bought 1,000 CDs, right? And let's say I know I can sell them for $10 a piece times 1,000. That's $10,000 worth of merchandise. So just start looking at other creative ways that you can get merchandise that you can get, as opposed to going to a thrift store and you come home with 5 items to list. You know what I'm saying? So try to look at other ways to try to get merchandise in bulk. Now, I wanted to ask you a question before we let you go, Cameron. What keeps you motivated? How do you stay motivated to list items, do the whole eBay grind, work your full-time job, and be a full-time dad? Like, tell us, how do you go about, like, what keeps you motivated? Because I'm sure some days you're just like, man, I just don't want to get out of bed today. Like, I'm sure everybody has days like that. Like, what keeps you like motivated to keep on your grind, shooting YouTube videos, doing your reselling, working a full-time job, and you're still there, doing, being a dad and a husband. So tell me how all that is, like, what keeps you motivated to keep doing everything?
First of all, were you spying on me this morning? You knew that I was really not feeling like getting out of bed. Yeah, that was how I felt this morning. I was like, I just want to like just sleep for another couple of hours, but I, have to kind of give myself that pep talk of like, get your booty up, get those cats and your dog fed, get your coffee made, get your butt to the shed, and get to listing. Because I wanted to try to do as much work as I could so that I could feel a little relaxed and enjoy my hour with you. And without getting too personal or sentimental, but because I want to be transparent and answer you honestly, when I was 18, my dad passed away. He was only 68 years old, which is kind of like, he had me when he was 50. So he was an older dad anyway. And, as a young person, a young adult, like just turning 18, and you lose your dad, like your role model, I was really tight with my dad. And I just, from that moment, wanted to always like treasure every day and do as much that made me happy every day. And then when I was in my 30s, unfortunately, my other little brother passed away also. And that just was another reminder of like, dang, life is really like, you never know if it's going to be your last day on earth. And sorry if this is really way too mushy for some folks, but it's true. And so I just wake up and think, if I croak tonight, like, what am I going to be? Like, what am I going to want to feel like? Okay, I was productive because I did A, B, or C, whether it's spend more time with my wife and my kid, or take advantage of the sunshine, take my dog on a walk, or try to make as much money as I can on eBay. So yeah, just remembering that every day is kind of like a gift. So trying to get as much as I could get done in a day.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. So hey, man, we appreciate you coming on and hanging out with us today. Give me your final thoughts, and then we'll let you go.
Oh, my final thoughts. I just thank you, first of all, Jeff. I appreciate you having me on. I've watched a ton of your shows and it feels a little bit surreal. Like, wait, I'm not just in the chat. I'm like on here with you. So thank you for the opportunity to share a little bit of, I don't know, my story or whatever. And then my thoughts for folks is to, who is it? Tony Norton, the dude from P90X. He says, do your best and forget the rest. That's what I'll leave everyone with. As corny as it is.
Awesome, guys. So I have Gravity Goods links down in the description below. If you want to go follow him on YouTube and Instagram, and you want to see him do his catwalk, go subscribe to his channel. Go follow him on Instagram. So, anyways, thanks everybody in the chat for hanging out with me today, and I want to thank our guest Gravity Goods for hanging out. And I will see you guys next week. I'm going to have a great group of guests lined up next week. So see you then. You guys have a great weekend. See you next week. Bye, guys.